Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. It is the Pewter Post-Game Show, and for the fourth Pewter Post-Game Show in a row, we are talking about a Bucs victory, and to be quite honest, they get better and better each week as the Bucs defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars by a score of 30-12. This goes without question, was their best home game of the season and probably their best game of the season after topping what they did last week. It was a great, great Christmas gift that the Bucs gave to their fans today on Christmas Eve. So we're going to break it all down. I'm your host, Matt Matera, joined with me live from Raymond James Stadium. Coming back to the show, it is SR Scott Reynolds. Scott, first just want to say again, we're all so sorry for your loss, and we love you, and we're so sorry, and we hope you're hanging in, and good to talk to you.
It's great to be with you all, Matt, and you Pewter people. I really appreciate the support I've received this week. It's been a very difficult week for me, as you can imagine, with my father's passing on Tuesday, and I just really want to say thank you so much, and I'd like to dedicate this show to my dad, Steve Reynolds, who is 80 years old, and loved Pewter Report, loved the podcast, loved the Buccaneers. Grew up a Washington Redskins fan, living in the Northern Virginia area, of course. But man, the last 28 years since I've been down here, he's supported the Buccaneers. Was super excited. They won the Super Bowl in 2002 and also 2020, and used to come down for training camps, come down for several games, and just miss him. And thank you so much for everybody's support out there. But on with the show. And I'll say this: if you're a Buccaneer fan, that's a wonderful life, is it not?
Yeah.
All you wanted for Christmas was a W, and you got it. Trevor Lawrence was run over by a Yaya Diaby tonight. Not a reindeer, but a Yaya Diaby.
Yeah.
And Antoine Winfield, what can we say about Antoine Winfield Jr.? He was the Grinch tonight for not Whoville, but Jacksonville, with a tremendous play, sack, interception, fumble recovery, and Yaya Diaby, right? Sack and a half. Now leads the team with 6.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery at the trifecta. And it was a silent night, Matt, for the Jaguars offense as the Buccaneers put up 20 points and shut him out in the second half. Carlton Davis, unfortunately, got his jingle bell rung tonight. But Zion McCollum came in and pinch hit it again and did a really good job. So the Jacksonville's offense was in the giving mood, right? 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. And Matt, all I can say is that the Bucs wins continue to snowball. That's all the Christmas and winter references I got for you. But
I got one more for you.
Lay it on me.
With the Christmas theme. It was very much a White Christmas because Devin White made the big play at the beginning with the interception, which I think shocked the entire state of Florida. And Rachaad White, of course, did his part with scoring a touchdown in this game and being a factor in the passing game as well. So very much was a White Christmas. And I think that's why, Scott, this was their best game of the season. Last week was awesome against Green Bay, and I'm certainly not taking anything away from that. But the Bucs continued on the offensive side of the ball, pretty much picked up where they left off against Green Bay, just with Baker Mayfield slinging it. But I think why this game was their best of the season is everything that you laid out about your favorite side of the ball, the defense, where the 4 turnovers, Devin White making a splash play, getting after the quarterback. Yes, a lot of the pressure was still generated from a pass rush, but you saw Yaya Diaby. Antoine Winfield Jr., what was the one small thing that we knocked Antoine Winfield Jr. where if he wants to get all pro, he has to do this more? And that was interceptions. Take the ball away. Right. And he did that again. And he had a sack. And he had a fumble recovery. So he just does it week in and week out. I mean, it was 30-0 in this game. It was never, ever close. The last 2 scores by the Jaguars were in garbage time. That last touchdown was complete BS because Devin White should have had another sack, but they called roughing the passer on, which was absolutely egregious. So I don't even blame the Bucs for for that drive and for the Jaguars scoring. And credit to the Bucs, they didn't even allow the 2-point conversion. So just from the top down, from the offense looking fantastic again, from the defense getting the job done. And I get it. Trevor Lawrence is clearly banged up. The Jaguars are missing pieces on offense with injuries, but we've seen lesser offenses with the same stories of injuries and things of that nature.
That's right.
Play against the Bucs and get the job done or do enough to win. I mean, you could look at that Indy game a couple of weeks ago. But no. Not on Christmas Eve. Not this evening. It was a fantastic game by the Buccaneers and truly a fun one to watch, where the only thing people have to worry about is whether or not they were going to hit their bets, not are the Bucs going to win, because it was that much of a blowout. It was a bona fide ass kicking.
It really was. I cashed in huge in this game on my bookie. I had my best my bookie performance. I won over $200 today on the Buccaneers.
Very nice.
Not only did I bet, I had 3 different bets with the Buccaneers when they were -2.5, -1.5, +1.5. I just knew they were going to win. I had Mike Evans for the first touchdown of the game. That won me $70 right there. So a lot of fun on my bookie today for me. I just kind of felt this Buccaneer was going to win. And it wasn't just me. You, Bailey, Josh, and Sly, we all picked the Buccaneers to win. A week after, we all picked the Buccaneers to lose at Green Bay. So we have jumped on the bandwagon that some of you Pewter people have been riding as you believe in your team. But Matt, there's a legitimacy about this team now. This team is dangerous. This team is peaking at the right time. It's playing complete games on offense and defense, and it's doing it in multiple weeks now. The sacks are piling up. The turnovers are piling up, or I should say the takeaways from the Bucs defense. On offense, Baker Mayfield continues to protect the football. Probably 1 dropped interception today, maybe 2. But for the most part, I mean, I thought he did a great job of protecting the football. And this team just is peaking at the right time. It continues to ascend. We're seeing Chris Godwin and Mike Evans starting to roll at the same time now. And it's legitimately becoming a very dangerous team. And I mean, Mike Evans, what can you say? He is going to break his own touchdown record that he set in 2021 with 14 touchdowns. Where's he at right now, Matt? Is it 12 or 13?
He's at 13. I'm pretty sure Tyreek Hill did not score a touchdown in their game. Right. So Mike Evans leads the NFL in touchdowns at the moment, receiving touchdowns.
Yeah. And listen, we have to give credit where credit is due, right? We at no point in time did we call for Todd Bowles to be fired, right? I mean, I love defensive football. I love defensive players. I love defensive-minded head coaches. I get the trepidation because so many offensive-minded head coaches are having success. You look at Andy Reid, and it starts there, and then some of these younger guys, the Sean McVays, winning Super Bowls, et cetera. But we have to give Todd Bowles credit for taking a chance on Dave Canales, this young, bright-minded guy who is humble, who is smart, who is figuring out this team and pressing all the right buttons right now. And this is a team that really, has to be reckoned with. And I'll say this about Todd Bowles, right? I think he handled the Devin White situation not well at the press conferences, right? But he's handled it well in the fact that KJ Britt's playing. And what if we settle all along about Devin White, right? We've said he should be benched because sometimes what happens when you are benched is it puts things in perspective. It challenges you to play better when you get back out there. Look at Luke Gedeke from last year. Right? Got benched. Now he's the most improved player on offense, bar none. I mean, maybe Rashad White, right? But Devin White played a great game today. And, it has to be attributed to the fact that he didn't play last week, right? And there were some exchanges during the week. And we saw a great game from Devin White. And I thought when KJ Britt was in there, he played really good football. And that's what you want to see from this team right now.
Yeah, players get motivated in different ways. Like some guys, it's better if the coach yells and screams at you and that motivates them, where other guys kind of need a little bit more of a talking to. And I don't think Devin responds well to if Todd Bowles, I can't even imagine Todd Bowles screaming, but if Todd Bowles were to yell at Devin. But what motivates Devin is, I guess, the fear of getting benched or the fear of people not thinking that he's the bee's knees. So
Yeah.
The fact that it worked today for Devin, let's hope. The thing I hope for the most is that it continues and it wasn't just a one-game thing. Because we've seen Devin play like this, but it's for one game. And it's like, oh, my God, Devin White is back. And then he's just not. So I'm not knocking Devin White. He was fantastic today. I mean, he was the catalyst in the beginning of the game. Who knows how that game goes if Devin doesn't make the interception there? What if it's dropped? Like a number of moments in this season for the Bucs. So, a huge shout out to Devin and, of course, to Todd Bowles as well for keeping this team together, pushing the right buttons. And now this team is hitting their stride, especially offensively. And we'll talk a lot more about the offense, too, because I am loving what I'm seeing from this group. But let's get to a couple super chats because they're starting to pile up. And, of course, we love the Pewter people. Thank you for spending your evening with us on Christmas Eve. It's 8 o'clock and you guys are watching us. We already got a ton of people in the chats. So thank you to Bucs Basement starting off with the $5 super chat. Says, this team is unrecognizable. It's like Bowles has been told he better coach like his career is on the line. I do not recognize this team. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Bucs Basement. Merry Christmas to you as well. And I think that's a big thing. Scott, you kind of touched on it before. It's that we did not call for Todd Bowles to get fired, but we all did predict that Bowles is going to get fired at the end of the season. And this is when the Bucs were at 4-7. There would be no reason not to think he wouldn't get fired at the end of the season. And I'm not buying the whole he should be in consideration for coach of the year. But that does not mean that he should not get praise and his flowers and his credit for keeping this team together when they were losing 6 of 7. Because there are other games, other teams that played out there today that know their season is done and said, I don't give a crap. This season's done. What am I doing anyway? So to keep this team motivated and to walk the tightrope that is the Devin White saga, that is lining 9 players up on defense, that is Chris Godwin's wife yelling at him on social media. Todd's had to, I guess you could say, put out a couple of fires, but he's had to kind of address certain things out of the norm that I don't think most coaches have to deal with season in and season out. So another big thing for Todd Bowles and a big credit to him. We got the super chat from Eric Colson. Thank you for the $9.99 super chat, Eric, who says, Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you, too. Great win today. What have you guys seen from the locker room that's got these guys playing their best football now?
I think just sticking together and believing that they can, make a run and turn this thing around. Remember, it didn't look good for the Buccaneers last year either, right, man? I mean, we covered this team, all the way down to that Falcons game where they could have been 9-8. And Todd Bowles even said today he might be more inclined to continue to play this, the guys, because he feels like they lost some of their mojo in that second half in the Week 18 loss at Atlanta last year. And, of course, it snowballed into getting hammered by the Dallas Cowboys at Raymond James Stadium in that wild card loss. So I think Todd Bowles is going to keep, pushing the pedal to the metal. We didn't see Baker Mayfield, even when this team was up, 30-0, didn't come out of the game. And
kept throwing, too. Not just like hand off the ball. Kept throwing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's reckless. Listen, if he gets hurt, it's reckless and it's stupid, right? If he doesn't get hurt, then it's genius and it's mojo. And the Bucs are trying to continue to build on this momentum into the playoffs. One thing about Todd Bowles, and this is a serious thing, the Saints used to own the Buccaneers, right? I mean, all the way through the Bruce Arians era, really. I mean, aside from that win in 2020, it was tough sledding against the Saints. I mean, they got their butts handed to them here during the Super Bowl year, like 38-3, something like that. Yeah. There was that brutal game where Chris Godwin was knocked out with the knee injury. It was the body bag game. Leonard Fournette left in the third quarter. Mike Evans was knocked out of the game. Todd Bowles is 3-0 against the Saints. Sweeping the Saints, if that happens next Sunday, I mean, that's a milestone, right? And Todd Bowles is filling out, his resume to show the Glazers at the end of the year. And he's like, hey, if this team finishes with 6 straight wins, they're 10-7 heading into a playoff game at home. It's a different story than an 8-9 finish last year, kind of limping into the playoffs. The good news, speaking of injuries and limping and all of that, Antoine Winfield does not have a concussion. He could have gone back in. He was cleared by the team, and Todd said, "Oh, we're gonna keep our super." Hey, you've already done enough, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, that was the biggest question injury wise coming out of the game was Baker and that neck, but he obviously came right back in. As Tom Bucs fan says, Todd is 3-0. Let's hope he can make it 4-0. And then, of course, Antoine Winfield Jr., but thankfully he is healthy because this Bucs defense absolutely needs their best player, Antoine Winfield Jr., if they want to make any noise in the playoffs coming up. If they do make the playoffs, they still do have to clinch, and I think they will. I think we both believe that. But I do think
man. Ho, ho, ho.
Scott, you should have seen.
Wow.
Okay, shout out to Jeff who said I won 3,750 on Underdog. Congrats, Jeff. If you took my picks, I hit all 5. Baker passing yards, Rachaad White passing yards, both over. Mike Evans touchdown, and then over on the receiving yards for Calvin Ridley and under on the Travis Etienne rushing yards.
Wow.
Also got to give a shout out to
Diamonds.
Trustin Vorbeck put in a 9-person/team parlay.
Right.
$35 to win $1,900. And he hit it. And it was like Bucs money line, Baker passing yards, Baker over 1.5 touchdowns, Mike touchdown, Rachaad touchdown, Mike passing yards, receiving yards, Rachaad White receiving yards, and Chris Godwin receiving yards. So the game was over, and we're like, 5 more yards for Trustin to win. So Trustin Vorbeck won $1,900 today.
That's fantastic.
Everyone's
I'm happy with my $200 win, but man, that's fantastic.
Yeah. A lot of great picks. Unfortunately, Carlton Davis did get injured in the game.
He did suffer a concussion, so he'll be in concussion protocol for next week against the Saints. That doesn't bode well because the Saints do have a multitude of weapons in the passing game when you look at Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave and just the different weapons they have. So we'll see if Carlton can come back and play. We saw Trevor Lawrence come back and play today, but it looked like he was still concussed, to be honest. I mean that was that was not a good performance by Trevor Lawrence whatsoever. He just didn't seem to have it with the throws today. Some errant throws that were picked off, got sacked multiple times and left the game with a shoulder injury. So hopefully Carlton Davis, and I saw him in the locker room and he didn't look bad. I'll say that, right? I'm not going to say he looked fine, but because he's not, but he certainly wasn't wearing shades. And sometimes, you have light sensitivity with concussion. So hopefully it's a mild concussion and he can clear protocol and come back against the Saints. So
thank you to Jordan Ridgway for this $4.99 super chat that says, I think it's been understated how the Bucs have done so much with less. Because of the dead cap, nobody spent less on their roster this season. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. And this graphic that's up here right now, Baker Mayfield is a huge part of that. I mean, we talked a ton about the Tom Brady tax and they had to pay that credit card and all that stuff. So they had to maneuver quite intelligently this off season. And sure, I mean, they could have just said, hey, we're going to roll with Kyle Trask and do whatever. But no, they legitimately want to make it a competition. And Baker won it. And now he's doing what he is now. And I honestly think outside of DeMar Hamlin, who's going to win for all correct reasons and obvious reasons, outside of DeMar Hamlin, Baker Mayfield's the comeback player of the year. I mean, doing something quite similar to Geno Smith last season, but doing it in his own way. And for the second week in a row, just absolutely slinging the rock all over the place. 26 of 35, 284 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Ran the ball a little bit too, showed that, marquee Baker Mayfield toughness, running for a first down. It starts with Baker, but in general, this offense, Scott, just looks so comfortable. Yeah. Moving down the field, finding guys that are open. And I don't know exactly what turned on the switch for them, but it's all clicking over the past 2 weeks. And it's very fun to watch just from an entertainment standpoint, but they got a great thing going. And I'm only excited to see what it can do, especially against the Saints, who they were able to put up points against the last time they met. And that offense is not even remotely close to what this offense looks like now.
Yeah, and you consider how much money the Saints doled out for Derek Carr, and I mean, Matt, they signed the wrong quarterback. They really did. I wasn't too concerned when they signed Derek Carr, and I thought from day one that Baker Mayfield was the better quarterback in terms of that, because Carr just has a penchant for, he's an okay fantasy football quarterback from a yards and touchdown standpoint, but it just doesn't seem to have that winning factor. And I'm going to say it right here, because I said it in a 2-point conversion earlier in the season, Baker Mayfield not being a difference maker. And I said it last week, and I think he is a difference-making quarterback. He's grown in this offense. He has that rapport with Mike Evans. And the throws we're seeing from him, right? It goes back to the end of that Atlanta game. Shrugged off a horrible game. Those last 2 passes, 32-yard catch and run to Godwin, 11-yard touchdown to Cade Otton. He had a little bit of a hiccup with the sack fumble at Green Bay deep in their own red zone. Oh, well, I'm just going to throw 4 touchdowns and bounce back from that. I mean, it's remarkable how well he's playing right now, avoiding the interceptions and just putting points on the board. He's become the catalyst for this offense. He has become the driver, and I think he's making better checks at the line of scrimmage. And he and Dave Canales, man, they're just kind of like in simpatico right now. They're really clicking, and it's fun to see. And for a guy like Canales, who got emotional this week speaking about Todd Bowles and this opportunity, it means a lot to him. And he's a humble, team-oriented guy who just wants to see his players excel and do well. He's just he like Todd Bowles. And you're talking about 2 like really, really quality people. Todd Bowles, Dave Canales. It's fun to see them have success because they're good guys in this industry. And I think that's a fun takeaway here on Christmas Eve. This is a good team full of good guys that you feel good rooting for if you're a Pewter person, if you're a fan of this team, and it's fun right now. It's fun to see everything clicking, and this team really trending upward and streaking. It reminds me so much, for you old timers out there, Tony Dungy's Buccaneers did start off so well, but man, come December football, they put it all together and they made some great runs, and we'll see what happens as we roll into January now for the next the next game or two.
And they have this team in general I'm talking about. They have like a foxhole mentality. By that I mean, like, people will get asked like, oh, if you're in a foxhole, like, who would you want to have with you? And it's really like these guys are fighting their way out of everyone doubting them. Peter King had them winning 3 games. Their over-under was 6.5 wins on the season. So I think that's even going to help them moving forward, because now they're going to start getting their flowers. And, some analyst this week is going to go, watch out for the Bucs in the playoffs. Like, they could make a Super Bowl run. It's kind of like how people were talking about the Bills a week or 2 ago. And while everyone else will make the Bucs the toast of the town, they won't necessarily care, because they weren't listening to everybody when everyone said the Bucs were going to stink. I don't think they're going to start listening to everybody now when everyone says that the Bucs are so great. And I think that's really important, because you need that foxhole mentality, especially in the postseason when things are not always going to go your way. That's just the nature of the playoffs. So the fact that they are just finding everything at the right time is so great. You talked about Dave Canales and Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. I mean, it's like watching Dwayne Wade and LeBron throw alley-oops to each other and things like that. Once you get into the red zone, you can just turn your clock and say, oh, it's time for Mike Evans, because he's going to get the football. Another 2 touchdowns today. So truly fantastic.
Yeah. Speaking of scores.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, speaking of scores, shout out to Matty Diamonds from Jordan Ridgeway, or $4.99 Super Chat. That's right. Matt was all over it from the beginning. He had a passionate rant about the Bucs taking Baker Mayfield over Jacoby Brissett back in free agency. That's a fact. That's why you watch Pewter Report, listen to Pewter Report, read Pewter Report for analysis like Matt's before the Bucs even signed him. And I think it was definitely the right move. It was going to come down to one of those 2 guys. They took a chance on the more talented quarterback rather than the safe bet. Yeah. And it paid off, because Baker has been everything this team has wanted him to be. And you know what, Matt? It's so hard to follow Tom Brady. The pressure from that alone,
it's impossible.
Just, it's hard. And Baker Mayfield kind of shrugged it off like, hey, like I don't mind fondling Tom. He's the best ever to do it, Let's see what this team can do, without him. And he was very respectful to Tom Brady, but he's just taken over this team. And we saw that back in the OTAs with how he would ingratiate himself, not just to the offensive players, but to the defensive players by doing calisthenics next to Vita Vea and Levante David. You'd have all these red jerseys and then one white jersey right in the middle. You have all the offense on one side and all the defense, and there's Baker right there in the middle. Not just wanting to be a captain of the offense, but a team captain, a captain of the entire Buccaneer team. And it's his ship right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things I wrote about it recently where I said it's an unwinnable position to come in and replace Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time. But if there was anybody that was going to come in and not be intimidated by these shoes that he has to fill just based on his own experience and his attitude and mentality, it would be Baker Mayfield. Like Baker is way more equipped to come in and replace Tom Brady than Jacoby Brissett or even Kyle Trask on this team, who was a teammate of Tom Brady for a couple of years. It's just his mentality, and I'm sure he respects Tom Brady. He was probably like, Tom Brady ain't that great. Like, I'm great. And that was the big risk, is like the ceiling of of Baker Mayfield is incredibly higher than what it would be for Jacoby Brissett. So huge credit to the Bucs for taking that risk, and as you said, it's paying off. Let's get to this $4.99 super chat from Mark Fisher, Redfish, who says, condolences and prayers, Scott. Count your blessings even as you miss her and him.
My dad.
Him. Yeah. Do I read it right?
My parents during football season, unfortunately. That's like, but that's just the way it goes. It's on God's timetable, not mine. But I appreciate it, Mark, very much. It's both my parents at this time. So thank you.
And he finishes it up by saying, do I read it right that Tampa Bay wins the division with one more win? Yeah. If Scott, could you believe, what if I told you that during the Bucs losing 6 of 7, what if I told you that the Bucs not only would win the division, but would win it in week 17, therefore having a game in week 18 that does not apply to any standings or playoff positioning for this team? Like,
just like last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat the Panthers here last year in week 17 to clinch the division. Then they went on the road to Atlanta. And I think Todd Bowles learned a lesson there. Like he's going to play. And he even said in the press conference, he's like, who are we going to put in? Young guys? We're playing young guys. They've been playing all year. It's not like we need to get anybody experienced because they're leaning on so many young guys this year. That's just how it is. And you know what? The Buccaneers have been leaning on young guys to come through, and we've seen, Yaya Diaby come through big time and become a force. And we talked about it. What is it going to take for this team to really, come to play on defense and get to the next level? They need another pass rusher to really emerge. And we wrote about that like in a roundtable. We've had conversations about it. It looks like it's Yaya Diaby. Diaby. He's really coming, to play. And for the Bucs, it might be Yaya. For Pewter Report, Matt, it's always Celsius, is it not?
It of course is always Celsius. As Big Al says, what flavor Celsius did the team have before the game? I'm not quite sure, but what I do know is Celsius is the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. I'm always hyped when I'm talking about Celsius. I'm sure Bucs fans are hyped right now because their team just won a 4th consecutive game. There's so many awesome flavors of Celsius. You see the Cosmic Vibe on the screen. Oasis Vibe is great too. Arctic Vibe is my personal favorite. And you got a lot of great options. The Tropical Vibe, the Strawberry Lemonade, the Sparkling Orange, Sparkling Watermelon, Fuji Apple Pear, the Sparkling Lemon Lime. All great flavors. There's no sugar. There's no post-energy drink crash or jitters that you might get with another product out there. So if you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, just go to the Celsius store locator, punch in your address, and it'll tell you the closest geographical location where you can pick one up. Might be a local Walmart, 7-Eleven, health and fitness store, Target, or it could be your bodega. And once you keep going to your bodega and you love Celsius and you want to get more of it, maybe you want to get it in bulk. You can get it in bulk by going over to Amazon. I would recommend getting the variety pack because variety is the spice of life. So on Amazon, you click on the subscribe and save, and you You can have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. It could be a week, month, quarterly, yearly. You're in charge. You're the captain. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. Make Celsius your number one pick. We got
I'm going to let you know real quick. Check out Amazon right now. They're having some sales and specials in time for the holiday season. I think it's going to continue into maybe the new year, but I got a pack of Arctic Vibe. I thought about you the other day, brother. I got a pack of Arctic Vibe for $14.99. That's less than $2 a can. So it was that's a hell of a deal. So a lot of their Celsius flavors right now on Amazon are discounted for the holidays. So make sure you take advantage of that. And the variety pack, as Matt said, always a great place to start if you've never had a Celsius.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you to Ron Fishticks for this $20 super chat. Thank you, Ron.
Wow,
Says,
thank you.
Merry Christmas, fam. Appreciate Pewter Report's unbiased coverage. It's been a fun season. Thank you, Ron Fishsticks, for the $20 super chat and for the kind words. It's definitely been an entertaining season. I mean, we did not know what to expect. We can all make predictions and we could point to certain things and say, this is what will happen, this what won't happen. But I mean, again, Tom Brady leaving, it's a new era, year 2 with Todd Bowles, but he gets to bring in his own guys or just a new offense with Dave Canales. Yeah. And this season has truly seen a lot of different things. So thank you for the kind words. And man, what a season it's been. And there's still a ways to go. You know, next week they can clinch the division. That means they would make the postseason. So a lot of fun stuff coming up for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. We're getting some Celsius love here too, which is awesome. So the best way you can support us, aside from super chats, which we greatly appreciate, is to Patreon our sponsors. And grab some Celsius. I did the same thing when I went up to Virginia, visit my dad one last time. Went to Celsius.com, clicked on the store locator, found some Celsius, and started my day up there in DC with that as well. So definitely help out our sponsors, Celsius.
Please do. And thank you for the $1.99 super chat from End Broken Glass 3, who says, Scott, did Todd Bowles lie for Devin White?
Maybe. Todd Bowles is not Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians is not afraid to publicly, take his players to task, call out his players, etc. He's got that different kind of relationship with them. With Todd Bowles, he has probably covered. I'm going to use that word rather than lie. He's covered for Devin White, and you know what? That gets a lot of respect in the locker room because it might be about Devin White today. It might be about another player in a different situation on this team tomorrow. And Todd Bowles always has his players back. He will take the fire. And Pewter Report, Matt and I, we have to ask some very tough, pointed questions sometimes. Put Coach on the spot. He's a true professional. He answers those questions. Sometimes we always don't believe those answers. Yeah. But he's doing his job. And his job is to lead this team and sometimes cover for his players. So I'm not going to use the word lie. I'm going to say cover. But sometimes Matt and I will look at each other at the end of a press conference. And we're like, what? So some of that was going on. The good news is, whatever happened, Devin White played a great football game today.
He did.
It took that to get to Devin to where he was a bit of a monster, a bit of a Yeti on the field today, keeping with the Christmas theme.
Abominable snowman, yeah.
Abominable snowman, yeah. I mean, he certainly was that. A great game from Devin White, good bounce back game from him.
It was very fun to just see them wear their red jerseys, which they don't wear the red at all. So
I know.
They're
nice 1-0 in red and pewter, man. Let's get this thing going here.
What I will say, I think lie is not a fair word in this sentiment of it. I will say that Todd Bowles has used the language of coach speak a little bit more in regards to Devin White than he has maybe with other players, but. Just one last thing about Todd and Bruce Arians. They are completely different ends of the spectrum when it comes to calling out players or backing his players. And, I don't think it's fair to exactly put them in the same place, too, because Bruce Arians had already established himself as, a 2-time coach of the year, had won pretty much everywhere he went. The last thing he needed to do was still win a Super Bowl, but he was a very winning coach. Bruce had a lot more slack to say, this guy's not doing his job.
Yes.
He's got to play better. This guy has got to wake himself up, that type of stuff. Todd, if Todd came in where, yes, he had the history with the Jets, it did not go well, so he's been a head coach before. But I don't think Todd could come in with the same idea and mantra, because it's like, dude, what have you done as a head coach, as a defensive coordinator?
That's fair. That's a great point, Matt. I mean, Bruce had the coaching capital, if you will, right? Like that capital in the bank, where he's put those deposits in there, those playoff appearances out there in Arizona, 2-time coach of the year. He had some cachet about him that Todd Bowles just doesn't have yet. But you sweep the Saints 2 years in a row, you win an NFC South title, and more importantly, next week is 9 wins. That shows progress.
Yes.
Right? It's not an 8-9 division title again. It's you got another win. And Matt, there's no reason why this team can't finish 10-7. There's no reason why the way they're playing right now, this team can't finish with 6 straight wins. I got to go back and check the history books. I'm sure John Gruden might have done that once, maybe in that 12-4 season in 2002. Maybe Bruce Arians, won 6 in a row. That's hard to do.
Very difficult.
Especially when you're starting at 4-7 to get those 6 wins.
That's tough for any team in the league.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're the Dolphins right now or the 49ers. 6 in a row is extremely tough because, as they say, any given Sunday. One last thing. While Arians and Bowles are different about kind of like how they talk about their players, one thing that Todd Bowles is adapting from Bruce Arians as of late is no risk it, no biscuit. Because now the Bucs are full throttle going for it on 4th down and things of that nature, which I am really enjoying. But let's get to this super chat from Meets McGee. Thank you for the $10 super chat. As Meets McGee says, I had this team going 9-8. I felt the defense would carry until the offense would catch up by midseason. Well, that wasn't the case. Now I hope the defense gets better by playoff time. My condolences, Scott. Yeah, it is funny how the offense and defense have done a complete 180. Because I think up until the bye, it was definitely a case of Bucs defense kind of holding their own, and then the offense sprinkling in moments here and there to help get the win. Now it's Bucs offense balling out, and the defense just has to make a play here or there. Now today they absolutely dominated, but in those other games, it was more about the offense and the defense. So very funny how that's kind of expanded.
It's a great point, Matt. It's like the last couple of weeks against Atlanta, 27 out of the 29 points scored by the offense, right? 34 points up in Green Bay. It's like the offense said, wait a minute, defense, we're going to wear the superhero cape, right?
Yeah.
For a couple of weeks. And now the defense today says, well, hold on here. And it's almost like a tug of war over the superhero cape, right? Which side of the ball is going to carry the day? And I think today, both sides of the ball carried it. And that was awesome. I appreciate the kind remarks about my dad, Meets McGee. I did want to share one story real quick about my dad. It won't take long, but it happened here at Raymond James Stadium. Probably the most unprofessional thing I've ever done as a member of the media. And I'm pretty sure my credentials are safe now. But back in 1998, the Bucs played the Houston Oilers on Sunday Night Football. And I decided to take a night off. And instead of covering the game from the press box, I used to have season tickets here where my ex-wife would go as I was up in the press box. She'd go with some of her friends or whatever. And so my dad was in town in, I want to say October, November. And I sat in the stands with him. And I had my Pewter Report shirt on. And Dad, had his Bucs shirt on. It was like a polo. It had like a little, Buccaneer flag on it. And so this is back before 9/11 when security was a lot less lax before 2001, and so with about 4 minutes left, if you were up in the press box, you could come down in the field and watch the game from the last 4 minutes on the sidelines. And so I had gotten my dad a field pass, and I took him down, even though he wasn't a member of the media. He was so shocked. We were starting to get up. He's like, "Where are we going? The game isn't over yet." I said, "We're going down to the field." And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Yeah, let's go down to the field." So that was the one time Dad and I got to watch. Unfortunately, Steve McNair ran 71 yards for a touchdown.
Oh, wow.
The Buccaneers lost, but it was a great memory to have with him watching the game not just from the stadium, but also on the field too, from a media perspective. And I took him into press conferences afterwards, and that was a neat treat for my dad. And thankfully, didn't get my credentials revoked at the time.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's so cool that you guys are able to experience that together, going onto the field. So yeah, thank you for sharing that story. It's, definitely enjoyed hearing it. Thank you to Javaro Johnson for the 99-cent super chat. If you have a later comment, happy to put that on the screen. Ron Fish sticks with another super chat of $10. This one, he says, "I love when SR hammers Todd at the press."
Todd and I've got a really good relationship. It's totally professional, and he and I have talked, and I said, listen, it's my job to ask the tough questions and put you on the spot sometimes. That's just how it is. He understands that. As Todd would say, we understand that. I understand that. But you know what? I think Todd has a lot of respect for Pewter Report. It's not ill-intentioned by any means. But at the same time, we owe you, the Pewter people, independent, objective analysis. There's no sacred cows. When Jason Light has bad drafts, we hammer him on it. When he's got great drafts, we praise him for it. Same thing with Todd Bowles. We're giving Todd Bowles his flowers right now. This guy's turned it around. That hiring of Dave Canales now, taking a chance on an unproven play caller in your make it or break it season, Matt. I mean, that speaks volumes about the cojones that Todd Bowles has, and to keep this team going with the steady progress and keep the faith and keep pushing. And here they are now on the cusp of winning another NFC South championship. It's remarkable. No Tom Brady, $79 million or $81 million, whatever the number is now, in dead cap money. A very young football team with what did the season start with, Matt? 13 rookies?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's playing big roles too.
Yes.
Cody Mauch starting at guard. Christian Izien as your slot corner. I mean, the list keeps going, but
Izien had a good game today. He had a really good game today.
Yeah, what was important, Scott? When the Jaguars missed that field goal earlier in the game, Izien made the tackle. It was like third and very long. It was like 3rd and 20, whatever. But Izien made the tackle where he did. If he doesn't make that tackle, they don't get the first down, but he gets a couple of more yards. Right. That field goal is good because that field goal just missed. It was a 52-yarder. Yep. So credit to Christian Izien on that tackle, where I know he's been scrutinized for his tackling ability. But that play right there, again, the little nuances of the game. You get the stop on the 3rd and 20 for a gain of 2 versus a gain of 7, and that made the difference on the field goal there. So that was a very important tackle.
I just got a text from somebody within the organization who is like, shouldn't Yaya Diaby, shouldn't he be getting defensive rookie of the year consideration? And it's like, man, I mean, he's becoming a force. The tackles for loss, is it
leader among
2 fumbles now? Yeah. I mean, he's something, man. This guy is really something. He is once he's starting to really feel himself now in terms of his confidence and doing more things. He had a sack on the outside, Matt. He had the sack coming up the middle.
Inside. Beat Shaq to it. Like Shaq was right there too, and he was just quicker.
Yes. Yeah, he had back-to-back tackles for loss earlier in the game in the run game. I mean, he made a one-handed tackle on an end around for a 10-yard loss.
Yeah.
This guy's just scratching the surface. He's going to be so good, man.
It just feels like every week, not every game is Yaya going to have 2 sacks and a fumble recovery and all that stuff, but it just seems like every week he makes at least one play that is like, oh, wow, look at Yaya, or some type of just impact play. Like even against Green Bay, I think he only had 1 tackle, but it was a tackle for loss, So he's just he's picking up something week.
And today he had like 4 or 5 of those plays. And when they start coming in bunches, man, that's really the sign of I don't want to say greatness, but I mean he's trending that way. He really is.
Yeah, I mean what he's doing and I'm not trying to bash this guy too much, but what he's doing in his rookie year, and granted he's getting more playing time, is not even remotely close to anything JTS did his rookie year or even his second year when he got that playing time. So
again, credit Jason Light for recognizing JTS was just not it, right? And even Logan Hall recognizing 1 year after Logan Hall was drafted with the first pick of the draft for them, which was the top of the second round, just saying not good enough, and drafted a defensive tackle to replace Logan Hall this year and Kalijah Kancey, and drafting a defensive end or outside linebacker, edge rusher, and Yaya Diaby to replace JTS. There's no sacred cows over there for Jason Light. He will be the first to move on from mistakes, and we'll see. JTS still is going to have an opportunity to play and make plays and get better, and Logan Hall's not going anywhere for a couple of years either.
Yep.
But man, he's getting it done. And we're getting it done with the super chats too, Matt. We have another one from Eric Moreno here.
Yeah, thank you to Eric, who says, thank you for the $5 super chat. It says, hey, Scott, sorry about your loss. Prayers to you and your family. You're the best. And Merry Christmas, Matt and Scott. Again, sorry about the loss of your dad. Eric, thank you for the
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas to you as well. We got a couple of Merry Christmases in the super chats. Thank you to Cody Jackson for this $20 super chat, who says, Merry Christmas, PR. Go Bucs. Merry Christmas to you as well.
Merry Christmas.
Cody
Absolutely.
Jackson. Thank you for the super chat. And yeah, I mean,
I was going to say, I got to say this to Corey here. Jason Light doing well, drafting minus running back, as SR has noted. Yeah, but man, Rashad White. Rashad White's starting to buck that trend now. So we'll see if Jason Light, he'll be drafting another running back to complement Rashad and add depth. And we'll see if he can make it 2 in a row with the running back position.
Yeah, Rashad White deserves some credit because he was one of my picks for my Underdog Fantasy picks today, which, of course, if you haven't played Underdog Fantasy, there's still time to do it because they have it for all the sports, including football, even though we are getting to, sadly, near the end of the season for football. But nonetheless, if you use the promo code Pewter, that's PEWTER, you can get a first deposit bonus when you sign up at Underdog Fantasy using that promo code Pewter. You're picking at least 2 players, got to be one from 2 separate teams. So, for example, if you're watching Broncos-Patriots right now, you have to pick one from the Broncos and one from the Patriots. Or if you were watching the Bucs game today, you'd have to pick one from the Bucs and one from the Jaguars. But you can pick anywhere from 2 to 5 players and win all the way up to 20 times your money, which if you took my picks, you did this week. Over at Underdog Fantasy, you're just picking higher or lower on a number of different stats, from receiving yards to passing touchdowns. They got defensive stats in there as well. So if you love defense like Scott does, you can make some picks on your favorite players as well. So shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code Pewter, that's PEWTER, and get a first deposit bonus when you play at Underdog Fantasy. By the way, just so everyone knows, we want everyone to enjoy their Christmas Eve right now and their Christmas tomorrow. We will not have a podcast tomorrow as we spend time with our families on Christmas. We will still have content on pewterreport.com, so don't you worry about that. But there will be no podcast tomorrow. So there won't be a Victory Monday, but that's okay because we're going to come back the next day on Tuesday,
that's right,
6th, and have a Victory Tuesday for the Bucs.
Sir.
We'll further talk about their 4-game winning streak, what's ahead for the Bucs when they play the Saints this week, and of course, we'll have roll call at 4:20. Some of the funnest things that we do with the Pewter people. We'll talk more about that on Tuesday's show, but we do have a great show coming up on Tuesday. There is a brief press conference with Todd Bowles tomorrow, so we'll have a little more information from him tomorrow. Probably a lot of stuff about injuries, especially Carlton Davis. But yeah, still a lot of great stuff going.
Yeah, it's going to be a Zoom press conference with Todd tomorrow at noon. So check out pewterreport.com. We'll have coverage there. We'll also, tweet out some of Todd's remarks on a tweet. Is it X post now on X at Pewter Report? So make sure that you're checking that out. But yeah, so here's what we want to do. We want you to join us on Tuesday for Victory Tuesday, and when you say where you're watching or listening from, put in your favorite gift that you got. So let's make it a little different. So it would be like Scott Reynolds, Wesley Chappell, new AirPods, which I know I'm getting from my awesome wife, Ashley, who got me some new AirPods. So we'll do that on Tuesday, roll call at 4:20. So, and we'll have shows Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week leading up to the big game against the Saints, where the Bucs can again clinch the NFC South title for, what is this, Matt? 3 years?
3 years in a row.
Three-peat. It'd be a three-peat. Yeah.
4 playoff appearances in a row and 3 division titles in a row. And the one year they didn't win the division, they won the Super Bowl. So
yes.
Yeah, again. Bucs fans, I will say, just enjoy the good times when you're in it, because remember, before Brady got there, it was over a decade without making the postseason, and now you won a Super Bowl, you've won the division 2 years in a row, on the cusp of winning it again. I know it hasn't always been fantastic, but enjoy the good times when you're in it. And thank you to Zay from
the Ville
for the $1.99 super chat, who followed up with a comment that says, favorite highlight of the day is the Bucs defense getting the turnover, rowing the boat in the end zone, and big Vita Vea on the deck fishing. So I did not realize at the time, because I saw them run into the end zone and start doing the celebration. And then, we're doing the live stream. I'm looking at comments and different stuff like that. So I actually did not see Vita actually fishing. Some people brought it up in the comments. So I am very much looking forward to, I'm sure there's a highlight out there somewhere on social media. Very much looking forward to seeing that. But Vita Vea, very, very funny guy. I mean, he's a team captain because he gets along with the players well. He's a little shy when it comes to just talking to the media. But as far as like his teammates, his friends, great guy to be around. So, funny guy, Vita Vea. Good dude.
Yep. Well, I was gone this week. Great shows from Matt and the Pewter Reporters, and we hit 12,700. We're getting close to 13,000, folks. That's our goal. Please like and subscribe to Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel. You hit the subscribe button. It adds to our count. We're getting closer to 13,000. We'd love to be at 13,000 by the end of football season, which looks like it's going to be 3 weeks away if the Buccaneers make the playoffs, and we'll at least have one wild card game right here at Raymond James Stadium. So that'll be exciting. But every time that you hit the like button, the thumbs up, or leave a comment, do both, because that helps our algorithm. It gets our Pewter Report podcast in front of more awesome Pewter people like you, and it helps our audience grow. And we have even more participation with things like Victory Monday that only Pewter Report does. So in this case, Victory Tuesday. So thank you, Pewter people, for subscribing in advance. It's a great way to show us some love. And if you want to get us something for the holiday season, for Christmas, subscribe to Pewter Report TV on YouTube.
Yes, please do. Please leave a comment as well. That actually helps. Yeah. For whatever reason, the algorithm, all that fun stuff, that helps out with it too. So would love that, because we want to build out this YouTube channel as much as we possibly can. And the more viewers that we get, even just by watching the show,
that's right.
Commercials that come on from YouTube, not from our own stuff, like that generates stuff for us, so we can kind of build out more things and put on a better show. So
and I'll tell you what, our sponsors, whether it's Celsius or whether it's the Eric Gross Group, they do so much for Pewter Report. And I know, you may not be in the market all the time for buying or selling a house, but if you are in the market, if you're looking at maybe after the holiday season, after the new year, of moving, whether you're coming into the Tampa Bay area, into the great state of Florida, or if you're leaving, or if you're moving around the state, Eric Gross and the Eric Gross Group are the official realtors of Pewter Report. Cannot recommend them enough. We're going to have Eric back on the show maybe next week to talk a little Bucs football. He's a huge Pewter Report reader, probably wrapping presents as we speak and watching this show. He's a huge Tampa Bay fan. But he knows this Tampa area well. He's a Tampa native. His father was stationed at MacDill Air Force Base, and he has got the experience that you need in this crazy real estate market to help you buy or sell your home. Their clients are not just transactions, they're lifelong friendships. Eric's a great guy. I highly recommend you give him a call. His cell phone number is 513-907-4271. Visit his website, housesinfla.com. It's a great website. You can check out his inventory. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram at Eric Gross Group. And no matter where you are in your home ownership journey, you're going to feel welcome with the Eric Gross Group, the official realtor of Pewter Report. Again, visit housesinfla.com.
And of course, after you do that, please follow us on our social media on X, Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and then our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV, where we have the podcast 4 times a week, Pewter Game Day show, various clips from practice and press conferences, the shows that Scott and I have. And I mean, even last week, we had a great interview with Josh Capone, Brandon Thorne, and awesome. Adam Slavon and Rob Domofsky. I apologize, I'm not saying his name right. But we just have all different content, Pewter Picks and Props, Pewter Pulse. So ton of great stuff on our YouTube channel. You're missing out if you are not liking and subscribing. before we end the show, I do want to give a quick shout out to Trey Palmer because you'd not done stuff for a couple of weeks, but this week came up big. Four receptions for 42 yards, couple of nice screen plays.
Yep.
Whether it's going to be David Moore like he did in Green Bay last week or what Trey Palmer did today, just getting a little bit of contribution from a wide receiver 3, I think has gone a long way for this offense. So I want to bring that up briefly.
Yeah. So, just a clarification here from Gary Buff. You mean a comment aside from the live chat? Absolutely. Yes. Go to the Pewter Report podcast video once we're done and it's archived, and leave a comment there. Love the show. Boy, Matty Diamonds was spot on with his picks, making me money. Whatever the comment is, good or bad, we appreciate the comments. We read them, and it does help our algorithm, as Matt says. So it's awesome. Just like you, Peter, people are awesome for tuning in. Gosh, we had multiple hundreds of people. We still have hundreds of people in the chat here as we're getting close to the time. Well, Santa's reindeer and his sled, they're flying across the globe right now. Yeah. Hopefully they come see you and your loved ones. Appreciate all of the support this week. It's been a very difficult week for me, but you guys have really helped get it through. And I want to really pay tribute to Matt Matera, Bailey Adams, Josh Capo, and Adam Slavon for just really stepping up big time. Our web traffic has been through the roof. The stories have been there. The content's been there. You Pewter people have been there reading our content, enjoying it. And it's been awesome to see the outpouring of support, and just love you guys. Hopefully, today's win is the present that a lot of you wanted for Christmas. And, it's just awesome. Just love you guys. And thank you. It means a lot to me and my family to have your support.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. I mean, you do so much for us at Pewter Report. The least that we could do is pick you up in a time when it's needed. So I know I speak for all the Pewter reporters and the fans as well, that we're thinking of you. We're thinking of your family. And, we are very sorry. And we're here with you. We're pulling for you during this time. So
appreciate it.
Let's end it on that note. It is Christmas. I hope everybody has a great rest of their Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to everybody tomorrow.
Merry
Reminder,
Christmas.
No show tomorrow. We will have a podcast on Tuesday, a Victory Tuesday for the Buccaneers. But that's going to do it for us for this evening. For Scott Reynolds, and of course, this episode is dedicated to the loving memory of Steve Reynolds, Scott's dad. So for Scott Reynolds, for Steve Reynolds, I am Matt Matera saying thank you, everybody, for watching. Merry Christmas, and we will see you on Tuesday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.